So my first question would be, what happens with the society that at certain moment in history realizes that it has been living in a totalitarian regime before, or several totalitarian regimes? What happens with this society? Maybe on a Croatian example.
Well, I don't think that it is a moment when they realize it, where everybody in that society realizes it. I think that people pretty much know that they are living in authoritarian, totalitarian regime, that they are aware of that, because everybody is more or less aware of limitations on the freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of movement, or other kinds of freedom, civil rights, and so on. So there is not a single moment of realization, I think. But what is interesting is that collapse of communist regime came without any warning. It just, except in Poland, it was really, it fell from the sky. So I think people were very much shaken and very much afraid with that when that event happened. So on one hand you have, of course, people rejoicing because of that, thinking, oh, it's absolutely fantastic. But on the other side, that we should never underestimate it. It was like an earthquake. So I think basically the basic sense, the basic feeling everywhere, not only in former Yugoslavia or in Croatia, was fear. Fear of new, of what is coming. And I think we underestimate this fear, because that fear has also a big repercussions on the future. When people are given choice between freedom and security, I think they choose security, not freedom. Yes, it is nostalgia, but nostalgia for the time where you were sure that you will have job, for the time that you were sure that you will have some place to live, a decent place to live. It looks so simplistic, but I mean, these are the things that there are no, at this time, at this period of history, there are no guarantees. You can't be sure that you can't be sure that you will get a job. You can't be sure that your children who finish the schools will have this unemployment of youth is absolutely discouraging. It's terrible, no? And much less the decent place to live. So I think it refers to that. But of course, we already see mythology being built there, because, for example, in the year 2000, there were particularly many researches done about nostalgia, and it turned out, for example, in Germany, that there are many people, especially from GDR, very nostalgic, elderly people, people of my generation, and so on. But also, it was a big surprise, that very many young people felt this nostalgia. How could the young people who was born after collapse of the regime feel nostalgia? Yes, because they heard all these stories and myths from grandmother, from mother, from father, from relatives. So it's so to say, it's now on the level of memory, which is a private, individual, not on the level of history, but because we established in history, it's totalitarian regime that limited freedom and reduced people to very barely surviving. But in private memory, it's another thing. It's a feeling of security and the feeling that you will have, you will be taken care of, and it's a trade-off. It's of course collaboration, but that's another issue. I mean, but I would, so to say, reduce this feeling of nostalgia to that feeling.
This is a very also interesting question. How do you tell the story of your totalitarian past to your citizens? I mean, what are the most problematic things about it in Croatia, for example? How is it taught in Croatian schools, for example, the period from 1941 through 1945?
Oh, it's a very problematic period, because at the same time it was, or between 41 and 45, it was also a fascist state. So here you have two kinds of totalitarianism that we have to teach. But also during that period, Croatia was independent. So what these new leaders in '91 tried to do, especially Tudjman, is to built a bridge between independent state in 41-45 and independent state in 91, but excluding this fascism. How can you exclude fascism? You can't. So this is a kind of a problematic thing, and this is the reason why the way we taught in our schools, or the way we are teaching them, results in the fact that in the recent opinion polls, it turned out that more than 40% of our high school students do not think that independent state of Croatia, the fascist state of Croatia between 41 and 45, was fascist at all.